Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kaylee Haga. I am the Chief of Staff and Director of Communications for Eastern Carver County Schools. Thank you for being part of our virtual community forum for the referendum. I am joined today by Dr. Erin Rathke. I'm going to actually stop the share so you can see her face as she welcomes folks. Give her a chance to say hello. We are here today to talk about the referendum that's on the ballot in November. We have a presentation that we'll be going through. Along the way, you may have questions. Please feel free to put those in the chat. And as we have time at the end of the presentation, we will get to those questions. This is being recorded. It will be available for viewing after our presentation today. And then we have another in-person presentation later in September for folks that want to come back and ask some more questions. I'll let you say hello, Dr. Rathke, and then I will start screen sharing and pull that referendum presentation back up.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Dr. Erin Rathke, Superintendent, Eastern Carver County Schools. Thank you for taking your noon hour to spend some time with us and get some information. And I look forward to presenting to you. I am standing up in my office so I can have lots of energy for you in a virtual setting.
All right, here we go.
So this is my third presentation today talking about the referendum, and I am passionate and excited to share about the opportunity that is in front of us. And we are excited about sharing the information. One of the things that I've been spending a ton of time talking about is the ECCS difference. And this campaign might feel and sound a little different. Whenever there's an issue of financial funding, there are two paths in front of us: budget cuts or cost containment, or raising revenue. And so that is part of our story. But one of the things that I want to share a ton about is just what already makes ECCS different. When we spend time thinking about what resources we might need to cut, we started making this long list of things that we had opportunities to think about. And we started really seeing that the things that our community and our schools have invested in make Eastern Carver County a really different place and really special. And so I'm just going to highlight a couple of them. Number one, we have an activities director. We have two athletic directors and one activities director, and that person is specifically focusing on spring play, one act, yearbook, prom, debate, speech, and the list goes on. I don't know of very many districts in the state of Minnesota that have that position available. And it is partly because our community has a really high value in fine arts, drama, speech, as well as our athletic opportunities. And so that clear investment allows us to have an ECCS difference. 94% of our students at the high school level are involved in something outside of the bell time. We know that kids who are engaged, have a community, and have a sense of belonging inside of their schools are more likely to attend. They're more likely to have academic success. They're more likely to feel a sense of belonging inside of their schools. That's one thing that makes us different. One other thing, another example is our media specialists. Many districts have already had to abandon our media specialists in that position. I have a really high belief. So I have a really high belief in our media specialists, their connections with students. Number one, just being students' person, but also their expertise of matching students with right reading levels, right books. We know kids that have stronger background knowledge are better readers, and our media specialists partner with our teachers. Really an important position that many other districts have had to abandon. Fifth grade band. Our community has a really high value about in our music pathway and want to really maintain that. Fifth grade students talk to me about how much they like their music class, the opportunity to take that. And these are the things that are in jeopardy if we don't pass the referendum. But honestly, the story is that these are the things our community has invested in to make the ECCS difference. And I guess I just want to address this piece too, is student safety is on top of minds to our families. And we were out in the community today, and that was one of the number one things families wanted to talk to us about. One of the things that we know outside of reactive, proactive drills, all the things that are necessary for emergency management, we do know that one of the number one things that is a detractor or an enhancement to school safety is for students to be known. And because we have smaller schools and we have more schools and we've invested in that, I believe that our students are more known by more adults. 3 middle schools, 2 traditional high schools, an alternative high school, 7 smaller elementary schools. These are things that are really critical for our kids to be known. One of the things that I hear from parents all the time is, I love my principal because they know my student's name. That is something that is really important and an investment that our community has made. And it is a direct correlation to us prioritizing student safety and student belonging. So we do have a financial future in front of us that I want to share a little bit about, and I want to make sure that our voters are informed. And so there are questions about our financial future and what decisions are in front of us. I don't have a product. My product is people. And our executive director of finance and operations has used this analogy, and I love it. We don't have a product. I can't take a bag of chips, put less chips in it, more air, and charge more money to my consumers. We provide programs, people, and services. And so we are in a situation where we have some decisions in front of us. We cut $5 million last year. We have another potential of $6.5 million in cuts in front of us. So we have an option of budget cuts or raising revenue. There is a reality that has created this because I know our community expects and wants and deserves for us to be fiscally responsible. It is a structural issue that we're facing. So in the next slide that I'm going to show you, I'm going to go forward and go back. We know that the state funding has not kept up with inflation. And so we show this graph all the time. There's this big gap between inflation and the funding that we have. Even if we just close that gap, we'd have millions more to spend just right now at the base level. This is an issue that's in front of us. Until this is addressed at the state level, we're always going to face some financial challenges. That is one thing that has created this reality. The second piece is inflation. If your refrigerator costs more to fill, if your gas tank costs more to fill, it is for the district as well. So we know operationally there has been some increases in products, food, gas, and that has an implication to the district. I will also just say this. I believe education is more competitive than it ever has been in the 25 years that I've been an educator. We want to recruit and retain the best talent in front of our students. We know our teachers make the best difference. We know our community has a high value around our educators, and it has caused an increase of salaries for us to be able to compete and recruit and retain the best talent. Also, like many other organizations, benefits continues to be a challenge. We know there's rising cost in healthcare, and the district is facing that as well. This convergence of factors has created this moment that we're at where we have some decisions in front of us. I also do want to say that the school board has charged us with ensuring that we are taking operational efficiencies thoughtfully and making sure that we are considering return on investment on our programming and the ways in which we invest our money. Sometimes in the community, people will say, you keep asking more from from taxpayers. And it's accurate. In 2002 and 2003, 10% of our funding came from the local taxpayers. In 23-24, 26% is the community is responsible for. And really what the state's saying is if you want great schools, your community has to invest in the ability to have that happen. It is unfortunate, but that is the structural and financial reality that's in front of us. And this has been going on for 2 decades. One of the things that's really important in our community, and I think it should be expected, is that our community wants us to invest our money on students, student-centered spending, resources for our kids. They are our clients, and that is a reasonable expectation. Our Executive Director of Finance and Operations, David Breck, pulled this together for me and ensured that I could stand confidently in front of our community. We know that 80 cents on the dollar is being spent towards students. I will say that operational costs, they do go up. I just shared inflation causes operational costs to go up. The ways we do transportation and in-source transportation was a cost savings and a benefit to the organization. And so there is some financial, operational and business side of education that we have to run, but we are committed to 80 cents on the dollar being put towards students and their instruction and the support of students. One of the things that I want to share is just where do we land among other districts? And so this graph here is really important, and I want to spend some time talking about it. In the light blue, that is our operating levy dollar amount. The dark blue on the top is our capital budget, or I'm sorry, our capital project levy, or what sometimes we refer to as our tech levy. And this is where we compare to other districts around us. And often if you look to the left side, you'll see that those are districts that we're often compared to as well. And so this is the investments that communities have made across our comparable districts. One of the things you might be asking yourself right now is why does Hopkins have so much money? They have more industry. And so it's one of the things that people love about Eastern Carver County. And it's one of the challenges in Eastern Carver County is our industry is not as big. And so there are burdens on our homeowners and taxpayers because of the lack of industry that we have. That is just a barrier that we are facing. One of the other things is that you'll see up at the top left that the legislator puts a cap on the amount of money we can ask in an operating referendum total from our community. And we continue to lag behind being fully funded from our community. Many of these districts that you're seeing on the left side, they've been at cap legislatively in their operating referendum for a long time. And so there are some clear investments that they've been able to make that we just haven't been able to, and that's okay. One of the other things I really want to point out and highlight is that the county raised taxes, the cities have raised taxes, and they don't have to ask. The school district is the only entity that has to ask voters yes or no to raise taxes. And so it is really important that we are informed, we know what we want as a community, and we know who we compare to. So this lands us here in a moment of the board had a decision to decide if we were going to go out for a referendum or not, and we are excited for the opportunity. There were 3 paths in front of us. The first path was to do nothing and to just manage it through budget cuts. Taking resources from students is not the most popular decision by a school board, and they don't want to do that either. And so thinking about what is it that the community wants and desires from our organization. The second option was to do kind of a mid-level ask. And that is the strategy that we have used previously. And I just don't believe in our financial time, our tax time, our inflation time, the unpredictability of economy. I do not think that our community wants to say, yes, I'll invest, but not experience anything different. And the board was really excited about the opportunity for us to go out for $742 per student, which will take our district to that legislative cap, which we are excited about. And the school board voted unanimously for us to go out to the community. So we are going out in November and informing our community right now of a 10-year levy for $742 per pupil with the annual increase of rate of inflation. This slide is really important. I want to spend some time here. If you see down in the bottom corner, if you own a $500,000 home, your monthly investment would be $23. Now, there's a couple things I want to talk to you about in this slide. In 2019, we went out for a referendum and the median value home was $350,000 and it was a higher $20-ish ask. In 2021, we went out for a referendum and the median house value was about $375 and it was a $20-ish ask. In 2025, the median house value is $500,000 and it is a $23 ask. So a couple things I want to point out. $20-ish is about the trend and pattern that we've asked our community for. Number 2, we know that house values have gone up significantly inside of Eastern Carver County, which is a direct correlation to strong schools. We know that strong cities, strong homes, strong properties have a lot of correlation to do with strong schools. So that's one. I also want to highlight that sometimes the question I get asked is, what about your enrollment? If your enrollment was higher, if your enrollment hadn't declined, you wouldn't have to ask me for more money. Well, one of the things I just want to share is that's actually not accurate. Our enrollment has plateaued, so we're excited about that. We did lose, every public school lot had some declining enrollment during COVID, and we see that we have rebounded and plateaued into a place where it feels accurate. Our kindergarten classes are smaller than our outgoing senior classes, which automatically creates a declining enrollment. And part of that in that home value is maybe new mommies and new daddies aren't coming to Eastern Carver County schools because our home values are higher. And so there's less students. And so our kindergarten classes are smaller, which automatically creates that decline. We also know birth rates are down in Minnesota. We know birth rates are down in the United States. And so there is some implication to less students to capture into our kindergarten class. What we do see from a data perspective is once students come to Eastern Carver County, they stay in Eastern Carver County. Historically, we've seen an increase in our enrollment in 6th grade and 9th grade, which are those transitional times. And so we're excited about that. And our home values are exciting. They're good for our taxpayers. And there are some barriers in front of us because of the cost of living in Eastern Carver County schools. So we're really excited because the opportunity to do some investing in our programming is critical. And so we spent so much time out in the community listening to our families, our community, our students, and we really believe we've got a pulse on the context of what our community desires. So one of the things that the board wants us to do is have a survey right before we decide if we're going to go out for the referendum. So it's a Peter Leatherman survey. He's the guy everybody uses. And he asked questions of the community about how do you feel about the district? Do you think you're getting a good return on your investment? How would you rate the quality of education? Good, excellent. And we saw that our numbers were significantly positive, that they've actually increased over the last 4 years of the community believing that we are providing an excellent product. The second part of the survey is would you support a referendum if the district invested in these things? And that the survey questions either show that there's more favor or less favor. We saw that the things that we put on the investment created more favor for the referendum. And so that message back to us lets us know that we understand that the community has a desire for some things. And so I want to share that we want to maintain what we have and protect the excellent programming, those things that I shared, like media specialists and 5th grade band, those things that wrap around and serve our students. We want to make sure that we can serve all students wherever they land on the spectrum of need. So more need, less need, higher need, enhancements. That scope of programming is really critical for each and every student in Eastern Carver County schools. So one of the investments that we want to make is a 1.0 gifted and talented teacher, and at minimum in every single elementary school. This is something I have heard for the last handful of years that I've been here, that we need to develop and invest in our gifted and talented work. We are lagging behind in compared to some of our other comparable districts. And so that investment is exciting. What it does also allow is it helps us to pull kids out or push in to have more support inside of classrooms for each and every student. And we're excited about the opportunity to possibly make this investment. At the middle level, we heard the same thing when we did Reimagine Middle and we had to change our schedule. We started really digging in and saying, who do we want to be at the middle level platform? One of the things families talked a lot about is advanced academics and the opportunities for our kids to have some choices in the midst of that. So we have slowly been rolling out advanced classes in all 4 core: math, English, science, social studies. We want to maintain the opportunity to continue to roll that out. A handful of years ago, we made a commitment as a middle school group that we would have similar experiences and offerings at each of our middle schools. It is a commitment that I have that no matter what house you live in, what city you come from, what's your zip code, that you will have access to all opportunities. So for those advanced academic classes to be across all 3 middles is really critical. Our students also told us, I've listened to hundreds of students, and our middle school students are telling us that they really want to think about what they're going to be when they grow up. It's really important to them. Hundreds of our kids, our youth participatory evaluators, talk to their peers. That's what we heard is, can I make a direct correlation to the class that I'm taking, the lesson that I have, and how is it going to aid me and help me when I want to make a choice of what I'm going to be when I grow up? And so we want to make some investments in our career and college pathways at the middle level. At the high school level, we want to make sure that we can maintain the high quality programming that we have, the investment in athletics, fine arts, and our strong academics. We have a range of offerings for our students, all the way from technical opportunities, anything in between, and 30 plus advanced academic classes. That range of opportunity for our students is a huge investment. We were just out at Chaska City Council, and Mayor Hubbard stopped the meeting and said, I'm a graduate of Chaska High School. I chose to go to a technical school. I came back to serve my community, and now I'm the mayor. That's an amazing story. And I hear those stories over and over again about the opportunities that people received inside of our schools, and that they come back and want to serve their community and live here and contribute here. Such an important part of Eastern Carver County. We talked to tons of students and families, and one of the things that we've continued to hear is that mental health is a challenge. And our kids, their mental health description and my mental health description might be different, but what kids told us is that they want to be triaged. When I am anxious and I am stressed, I want someone I can talk to because I have a test the next hour. They maybe don't need a weekly appointment, but they want someone immediately to support them when they need to talk through, get ready, regulate to be out and be their best in classrooms. And so that is one. Parents are talking to us about mental health. It's a huge concern. The second thing we heard from families, and we started working on our portrait of a graduate, we talked to thousands of families and listen to tons of feedback, plus all the hundreds of students, is the complete enhancement of career and college pathways inside of our high schools is really critical. So we added this year a 5th counselor at our 2 traditional high schools to address mental health and to help us have more pathway conversations with our students about college and career readiness and planning. And so that 5th counselor will spread out the caseloads. So smaller caseloads will give our counselors more opportunities to be with our students. We made that investment because in 2023, the legislator gave money to districts called student support personnel. Of course, some of the money was reduced in the 2025 biennium, and we wanted the community to see that we heard, we listened, and we made an investment based on their voice, not only our parents and families, but our students. And we want to maintain that investment, and we want our community to feel that investment and see that we did it, and that maintaining it will be really critical, but addressing mental health and enhancing our career and college pathways. So overall, we're just really excited about the opportunities of the investments that we want to make, that we've been making, that we want to protect and maintain inside of our organization. Now, this is the next slide, is the slide that isn't the fun one to talk about, because I love talking about the services that we're providing in Eastern Carver County, the opportunities and experiences our kids are having. And the reality is if the referendum or the operating levy is not approved, there are cuts in front of us. We are projecting about $6.5 million of cuts over the course of a handful of years. These things on the list are those differences. 5th grade band, music offerings that our families have a really high value. I have a really high value inside of our community. Eliminating kindergarten paraprofessionals. I just want you to know, if you've never been in a classroom with 20 little kindergartners, there's a lot of shoes to tie, there's a lot of coats to zip, and it's one of the most foundational times in our kids' experiences where they're starting to learn how to be in school. Those paraprofessionals are critical. Media specialists, trimming down our gifted and talented when we know that our community wants us to invest more, and of course our supports to athletics and activities inside our traditional high schools. Those are the things that are on the line right now that we want to maintain and protect inside of our organization. As I shared before, here is the 2025 tax implication depending on the value of your home. You can go to our website and there is a tax impact calculator that you can put your exact home value in, and it will tell you what your monthly payment is. So I encourage you to use our dynamic website to be able to get accurate information for you personally. One of the things that we know about Eastern Carver County that is a benefit to this decision and this ask, and I do want to say this, like, we know and never take lightly, it's never lost on me whenever we ask people to make an investment, to use their money, their influence, their power, their livelihood to invest in our schools, that it is a critical and important ask, and we do not take it lightly. One of the things that we do know is that Eastern Carver County continues to grow rapidly, in particular areas, like exponentially. And we know that when we make that $23 ask, if you own a $500,000 house, that's the highest it'll be. Because as the tax base and the home base starts getting bigger, continues to get bigger, the taxes are spread out over those home value or those homes. And so that is a critical component that this picture is depicting. I shared some of the historical asks. I think this is really important, just to share just the trends and patterns of that dollar amount that we have typically asked. You can see here in 2019, it was $36 a month, 21 was $20 a month, and in 25, we're asking for $23 a month. So when is the vote? Oh, here, I'm sorry, we have one more slide. I'm excited about this slide. So we showed this to you previously. Where are we lagging? How are we lagging behind? When we pass the referendum, we move up one spot, just ahead of Stillwater. And so we show this for a couple reasons. Grateful for the opportunity to move up one spot to some of our comparable districts. And number two, I think it's just really important to see that we are making an ask that is reasonable and that, you know, many other districts have made in comparison. All right, the vote is on or before November 4th. And so our commitment is to inform you, to be factual, to ensure that you are a informed voter. Mail-in ballots start September 19th. That has quadrupled in popularity, and so wanting to get out and get information out to our community as soon as we can if you choose to do a mail-in ballot. Otherwise, you can vote on November 4th. These are our polling locations: Carver City Hall, Chanhassen Rec Center. I want to just spend a second to say Chaska Event Center. Typically, we vote at the community center, but because of construction, we've made a location switch because we want it to be convenient for our families. And for the voters, so Chaska Event Center and Victoria Rec Center. So if the referendum passes, we are excited. We're going to show, Kaylee, are we going to show this video? Yes.
At Eastern Carver County Schools, strong relationships, high quality programs, and opportunities for every student are at the heart of who we are. This November, our community will vote on an operating levy that would provide stable funding to sustain and build the high-quality educational programs our families value. Like many districts, we're facing rising costs and state funding that hasn't kept up with inflation. Our district has already made more than $5 million in budget reductions. Without additional revenue, another $6.5 million in cuts will be needed over the next 4 years, which could mean increased class sizes, reducing music offerings such as 5th grade band, eliminating kindergarten paraprofessionals, and reducing media specialists, gifted programming, and staff supporting high school athletics and activities. These cuts represent investments our community has made in the past that set our district apart. That's why this fall, voters will consider a 10-year operating levy that would provide an increase of $742 per student with an annual adjustment for inflation. For the owner of the average value home in our district, the estimated tax impact is about $23 per month. This funding would allow our district to continue our strong academic preparation of students, invest in greater opportunities and support for all students, and provide stability to protect programs from shifts in enrollment, funding, and unforeseen circumstances. At the elementary level, it's really important to have those small class sizes because of a lot of our curriculum. So things like those reading small groups get students exactly what they need at their level. One of the things that I think is the most important about our kindergarten paraprofessionals is their ability to know every kindergarten student. So they support students not just in the classroom, but also at lunch and recess. So allows for that connection back with the classroom teacher as well.
Music is important for development because it fosters collaboration, creativity. You have a lot of math concepts in there, you have decoding, and when you're working together as that team, you get that team building, teamwork that goes all together with it. When you're working together, that's when the magic happens. They're able to really create something beautiful.
My kids were able to be in adaptive sports, typical sports. They also were able to have Spanish and languages and arts that are still available, even though we're a smaller school. Accessibility to all the different programs was amazing.
After my experience in the district, I felt exceptionally well equipped to go to college. Going through this district taught me how to be a good, kind, and proactive person. It taught me a ton about making good choices, about using my time well, about building relationships with people. So I was exceptionally well equipped.
In the course of my work, dealing with kids who have graduated and now graduated from college, and they're wanting to come back because they want their kids to have that same experience.
Please vote, please vote, please vote.
Learn all you can about the referendum, and please remember to vote on or before November 4th. At Eastern
Also, like I shared here at the end, really important, want people to feel like they're informed, want people to feel like they can get information. You can visit our district website, which is dynamic. We're updating it all the time as we're listening and, updating our FAQ as we hear what community members are asking. That is a place to go for information. If you want to email a question directly, you can send to this email. And if you don't want to do technology and you just want to make a phone call, you can leave a voicemail here at our referendum phone call location, and someone will get back to you and make sure that you get an answer. And so lots of opportunities to get your questions answered and to get information. Thank you so much for showing up today. I think we're going to answer some questions.
Yeah, I will allow for some time for folks to put questions in the chat. It's pretty quiet right now, but we do have a couple of questions that I know have come up pretty frequently when we've been out in the community. I want to give you a chance to answer those in this space, because if they've been asked there, I think there's probably lots of folks in the community that have those same questions. One of the questions that we've heard pretty frequently is, if the referendum passes, will any of the $5 million in cuts that occurred for this academic year be reinstated?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think there's opportunities for us to do that. And we're going to evaluate that process. We want to make sure that we're doing, like I said, those operational efficiencies to ensure that we're getting a return on our investment. We did do a scalpel approach is what we talked about, where we kind of trimmed in the budget cuts. We didn't cut everything totally. Because once you cut something and lose it, it's hard to get it back. And that was part of the reason we used this approach. And so this is an opportunity for us to evaluate, understand impact, and make a strong and thoughtful investment. The investments that I shared are the ones that we are fully committed to. The other ones we're going to be evaluating as we go and communicating. I want to be thoughtful about promises because I want to make sure this is about building trust in our community and people seeing, hearing our commitments and our values and following through on that with the financial support of the community.
One of the other things that we always hear a lot about is class size, and that is really complicated. So can you walk us through, we talk about if the referendum fails, we know that we will see an increase in class sizes because that's a lever when we need a lot of dollars in cost containment, but we don't see a reduction in class sizes if it passes. Can you talk through that?
Sure. This is a hard question, and I want to do a good job of trying to explain my thinking. It might not be a popular answer, but I think it's a real and honest answer about what's at stake. So You know, our $742 ask is not a huge abundance of extra investments of money, and reducing class size by one is significantly expensive. It's quite a few millions of dollars. And what I have found in my experience is that when we do a class size, just say the target is 25 and we reduce it to 24, it's such a small difference that people don't see it, feel it, and know it with their kids. And it is a target, it's a board ratio that we shoot for. But if the ratio is 25 and we have 26, it doesn't mean we're adding a teacher. And so then what happens is sometimes our community experiences a classroom with 26 students versus the 25 students or the 24 students even, and then say back to us, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And I absolutely do not want to hurt trust with our community. The other part is that every Friday I have a staffing meeting, and it's the meeting that is the most challenging decision-making time we have, because I'll just focus on elementary. We have 7 elementary schools. So we look at it district-wide, we look at it school-wide, we look at it grade level-wide, and across the district in the building. And so if elementary 1 has 36 kids in their class, and elementary 2 has 36 kids in their class, and elementary 3 has 36 kids in their class, which is too high, I'm just using a number. Then what I have to do is I have to make a decision for all 3 of the elementary schools. That's a $300,000 investment to maintain it across the organization. So we're constantly asking ourselves, now, today, should we do it this way? It's a huge investment in a really big decision, and it's a target. It's not an exact. And so it's a art and a science. And so it's really challenging. What this will allow us to do is address hot spots, and that's our inside language. But when class sizes get a little bit higher and we want to address it, our fiscal responsibility right now in our budget is to be really thoughtful and careful about when and how we invest. This will give us an opportunity to address some targeted spots, but just saying reducing class sizes by 1 would take all of the referendum money, and I'm afraid it won't impact our community the way that they want it to.
Thanks, I really appreciate that answer. I don't see any additional questions in the chat. I don't have any other FAQs here in front of me. So any parting words for our community as they consider this decision?
Well, I first of all just want to say thank you for taking the time to come and listen and to be informed. We're excited about the opportunity to be out in the community and share information, listen. We know people have high desires that we'll be able to fulfill, and maybe some we won't be able to fulfill, but we are excited about the work that we are doing. I am confident and proud of what's happening in Eastern Carver County schools. We have incredible staff, and our students are getting just the very best. And so I just want to thank you for being engaged with us and checking us out.
That was a great closing, and we got one really good question that I know you've addressed before that came in, so I don't want to skip it.
Okay.
I'm concerned that many of the proposed cuts seem to directly impact students. Were options for administrative or operational cost savings also explored? Could you share what those looked like?
Yes, that's a great question. And in my fuller presentation, I do address this a little bit. So I'm going to spend a minute, because this always comes up for everybody, and it absolutely should. And so there's a couple things I would offer. We do have more administrators because we have more schools. So if you went to a district that had a large middle school and a large one large high school, you would have less administrators. So we have to have administrators in each of our buildings. And so there is some cost there that our community has committed to. The second piece is there is a business side to education that has to be done. So I always use the example of payroll. If I was a VP of a Fortune 500 company and I had 1,000 employees, if you just do a quick Google search, ask Google what they think, they would say I needed 4 payroll specialists. We have 1.5, and we have an expectation in our organization, in our community, that we run extremely lean and thin at the district office. And we do. We've done the search. We've looked at our comparable districts. We are running very lean at the district office. And there is a business side that has to happen. We have to have an accountant. We have to have someone who does communications. We have to have those things to ensure that we can fulfill the promise to our community. So that's the second thing. The third thing is the board is requiring me to look at operational efficiencies, which means, are we evaluating and looking at our investments at the level that is not facing students and ensuring that we're running as lean as possible? That is happening. The fourth thing that I would say is, last year in our $5 million cut, we made a significant cut to administrative costs at that level, because we knew that we would go out for a referendum, and that we wanted and will always continue to prioritize students as much as we possibly can. And we still have to run the business side. Kids have to get to school. Kids get to be fed. The community expects us to serve the whole child, and that does require some of those operational and administrative costs to maintain. It's a great question.
Thank you so much. And that, I think, does end the questions. I won't make you repeat the brilliant thank you that you just did. I will just say on your behalf, thank you so much to all of the community members that joined us, to anybody who watches this on later days. You are welcome to again join us at our community forum later in September. Keep your eyes on our referendum website and our social media. We'll continue to post information. We appreciate your time in joining us and look forward to continued conversations as we look to our November 4th election. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.